Okay, everybody. We are going to test out here. I am showing you the game Role Player. Let me show you the box top here, as you see. Role Player by Thunderworks Games, created by Keith Mateka. Keith Mateka. Hopefully we'll see if that's the correct way to pronounce his name. If not, I apologize, and we will see what we can do about repairing that. As you see in Role Player, it takes the most interesting part of MMOs. If you've ever played MMOs and role-playing games, you know, you go out, you adventure around, you kill things, you steal their treasure and all that. That's the boring stuff. The good part of it, the most interesting part of it, is creating your character. And that's what happens here, is that we are going to create a character. That's what this game is all about. It uses dice. You've got an entire bag full of it here. And you are going to roll these dice, and you're going to arrange them using various rules and stuff, and create your character. You're also going to be buying armor and spells and skills and that sort of stuff to arrange around it. And at the end, you're going to get points based on how many of these things that you accomplish, how many armor pieces you have, and in various groups, how much gold you have, all sorts of stuff like that. So we're going to have fun with it. A lot of this you do randomly or you set up. I'm actually using this particular one with an elf, a protector, ranger, chosen one. These cards here, as you see, they are cards. There's several decks of them over here with a class, your background, and your alignment. You can deal them out at random and all. These are chosen particularly for this particular setup because this is a setup for a solo game challenge on Board Game Geek right now. So I'm going to play through this game and use my final score as my upload for my entry into the challenge. This is only going to be the second game that I've ever played of this. Played all the way through. I've done, a little bit of tutorial stuff, played around with the way things went and all. But this will be only the second game that I've actually played through from start to finish. Solo rules use the same rules as the two-player game with just a few differences that we'll do as we go along. Okay, we all start off with 5 gold. We start off with our character sheet, and these have male on one side, female on the other side. Of course, doesn't matter when you're an elf, of course. Elf is elf. But you have your background here. In this case, we're the chosen one. You were born with a sacred mark. According to the prophecies, you are destined to have great power and influence in the kingdom. Now, as you see on the chosen one, this shows you there are 7 different colors of dice in the game. There's purple, there's red, there's blue, there's black, there's green, there's white, and then there's gold. Gold don't have any place on the board here that they require you to be placed. But as you see here, if you can get a die of each one of these colors, you're trying to get them in this position over here. You're trying to get a purple one here, a red one here, a blue one here, a black one, a green one, and a white one. If you can do that, depending if you can get 2 or 3, you get 1 victory point. 4 to 5 of them are 3. And if you can get all 6 of them in the right place, you get 6 victory points. Now, a ranger is this right here, skill. Special skill for a ranger is you get a gold after you use a skill card. So anytime we get a skill card from over here and we actually use it, then we get a gold. We automatically win a gold. Now, for a ranger, you're wanting to get, this first row is your strength. You want your strength to be a 14 to a 15. Not above 15, not below 13, not below 14. 14 or 15, and you'll get 2 victory points. Dexterity, 16 to 17, you get 2 victory points. You got some like charisma, which is always the dump stat. All you got to get is a 14 or higher, and you get 1 victory point. So it's not quite that. Charisma and intelligence isn't quite so vital with a ranger. They're easier to get, but they only give you 1 point if you get them. So they're not that important to keep working on. A couple of things, being an elf, we get a +2 to our dexterity. So we have to be careful. We don't want to get above a 15 in our dexterity because that would take us, if we had a 16, it would take us to an 18, and that would be too high for this dex score here. Excuse me. Conversely, The Constitution here, you need an 18, which would be, okay, we need a 6, a 6, and a 6. But as an elf, you get a -2. So the highest you can get here is a 16. But to do that, there are some items over here that you can get that will allow you to will give you bonuses to your attributes here. So we'll be keeping a close eye out in the deck there, in the market deck, for things that allow us to do that, because otherwise we'll never get that 18 there because of the -2. Each one of these has a special ability. We'll show you those as we go along. And you notice the third one here is gold, got a gold border around it. If you get when you get all 3 dice, get that third dice in here, you get a gold for putting a dice in these here. The other part's protector. Now down here is your alignment. As you see, a protector likes to be neutral good. So we always start off in neutral right here in the middle. Think of all this as Dungeons and Dragons. It's really close to D&D. So we start off in the middle. Various things in the game will move this cube around. If we end up right up here at the end of the game, we get a +3 to our victory. Over here's a +1. Then you have your minuses down here, and then you have your neutrals, which don't give you anything across the middle. And that cube starts in the middle there. Okay, so that shows you how this is. Now the first thing that we're going to do before we start anything else is we have to draw our initial 6 dice out of this bag. So we reach in, and the dice has got all these 7 different colors in it. We're going to reach in, we're going to give it a good rattle, and we'll start drawing out dice. We got a red, a green, 2 whites, and we're going to draw out 6 in the solo game. Oh, too many. A green and a green. Okay, so that's going to be our initial hand. We're going to give it a good shake. We're going to roll them over here. There. And now we're going to assign these dice to the attributes. We can put 1 in each one if we want to. We could fill 2 lines up with 3 if we wanted to. But they always have to go in the leftmost one. For instance, I could put this 6 here. This 3, I could put it in any of these, or I could put it in this one. I could not put it over here because there's a blank space. I couldn't put it here because there's a blank space. It always has to go in the furthest one to the left. So I'm going to take a look at these dice now and look at my attributes and figure out where I want them to go. And then we'll get back in touch with you. One thing I can say is I'm pretty sure the dexterity there is going to be a green one. That's going to be that one right there. So one of these is going to go there. And I'm trying to get a 16 or a 17. So I'll be back with you once I get all the dice laid out. Okay, so we have the dice set out here now. And as y'all can tell by that, dice rolling is pretty darn loud on this table. And these dice are some pretty loud dice to start with. So, to avoid all the clacking and everything, or avoid the majority of it, there's only a few times I'll be rolling. I won't be rolling on camera for the dice that go out here. Whenever we have to roll the enemy dice, and the one rare time, you know, if you put something down in intelligence, it gives you a chance to re-roll one of the dice. We'll roll those on camera, but the main bit of the rolling and all will be all kept off camera as part of the preparation. Be part of the actual cleanup at the end of the round. Okay, so you see what we have here. I have set up the dice now. I decided, since Constitution is the highest and we need to have an 18 there, I would put the 1-6 I had in Constitution. Okay, so it is gone there. Next highest was 5. That's for my dexterity. And because dexterity, you got to have between a 16 and a 17. So I would go ahead and put it there. That means I need 2 more 6s. So I needed 2 more 6s to get this. Plus, it was already green, and as you see, dexterity, excuse me, had a sneezing fit there. Dexterity needs a green die in this first one. So I've already got the first one here in the dice requirements of the chosen one. As we continue on down, the 4 I put down here in wisdom, since it's the next highest, needs a 15 or a 16. The 3 goes in strength with a 14 or 13. And the 2 and the 1 went down here in the dump stats, which in this case are intelligence and charisma. It'd be nice to be able to get these 2, but I'm not going to be working on these 2 as much as the others because they're worth fewer points. So if I never get these 2 up to above 14, it's not going to be a big deal-breaking matter here. Okay, so as you see, what we're looking at here, these are the actual points. Whenever you get to the end of the game and it's time to scoring, the first thing you're going to score is your attributes total. So you're going to find out which one of each one of these rows here, and compare them to the points over here. Like if I've got it 3 6s across here and my con gives me an 18, then I get the 4 points for that. So that's what you score first. Second thing that you score is what's got your class color here. In this case, my class color is green. Every time you get a class card, it's got a color on it. And you pull out 2 of the cubes of that color. There are some marker cubes over here. One of them goes right here and is used for scoring at the end. The other one goes over here to show where your alignment is, to determine the scoring on your alignment. But every one of these, for every green die in this case, since the ranger is a green, every green die will score us a point. The alignment card, we've talked about before, has the gold stars and the silver stars, and every alignment card is different. Yeah, the protector has the 3 gold across the top and the 3 silver. Some of them have them on the side, some of them they're scattered around. But you always start wherever that symbol is, in this case in the middle, and wherever that cube ends up determines the points you get for your alignment. Your backstory over here, this is the one where you want to get the dice of the right color on the right spaces, and then however many of those you can accomplish gives you points. Your armor cards, when you get armor like the chain leggings here, they're worth certain numbers of points. And then traits are worth certain numbers of points, as you see there. Dedicated is worth 2 if you have a weapon, a skill, 2 traits, and an armor. If you have at least that many over here, you get 2 extra points. So now we've got our dice laid out. Next thing up, we're going to roll the dice to get the dice pool started. Like I said, this is majority. The biggest part of the game is dice drafting. And to do that, you roll, in this case, it's going to be 3 dice. We've got it set up for the 2-player. If it's a 2-player game, you got 3 cards. If it's a 4-player game, you got 2-player game, 3 cards. 3-player game, 4 cards. 4-player game, 5 cards. So there's always going to be at least 1 die over here that doesn't get drawn. And in the solo game, you still roll 3 as if it was a 2-player. But if you choose one of these, there are consequences for it. And that's what the enemy die is out here for. We'll show you that when we get to that part. So I'm now going to roll the 3 dice, draw out of the bag, and roll the 3 dice that we use to what we're going to draft to put into our character down here. Wow. Said normally I'm going to, this is recording all the time, so I'm going to be just editing out the dice rolls, but I'm glad that one was caught. Wow. A 1, a 1, and a 1. So that brings up an interesting thing. Because what we're looking at is when they go over here, these are the initiative cards. Okay. And a multiplayer game, they determine who goes first when you choose the market. And that's why you're here. So it's like, let's say we had a 1, a 4, and a 6. Well, they go from highest to lowest. 1 goes there, 4 goes here, and 6 goes here. Okay, so you would think that people want high numbers usually, so you'd be getting the numbers up here. Well, that's one thing. Let's say if you wanted 6, you'd get 6 here on a multiplayer game. If you wanted second best, you'd get this, and your consolation would be a coin. If you had to settle for third best, you would get this one, but you would go first whenever you got to pick from the market here. In the case of ties, the leader, whoever's the first starter player, gets to choose where he wants to put them. And in this case, we have rolled 3 ones. That is amazing. Okay, so basically I get to decide now where I want to put them over here and how I want to do this. I am thinking that I am going to put... I need high points for Constitution. Charisma is already my dump stat, so I'm going to put this one there. That coin makes it kind of juicy. And I'm going to put these 2 other ones just here and here, okay? Because this is the one that I'm going after. Now, the next phase is called the dice phase. And in this case, you know, we choose which one we want to pick, okay? And being that the start player would go first and then the person second. In this case, I'm the only player. I'm going to get the one on the 2, okay? I'm going to take the purple die, and I get the coin off of there as well. So I'm already at 6. But I have to roll the danger die. I have to roll the enemy die. And it has consequences. If I draw it off of here, what it means is if I roll a 1, we have to get rid of that card. It goes in the trash, not just the discard, but the trash. Whoops. And I just forgot. Let me back this up. I'm going to put this 1 back. There is, for this particular contest, this is not a normal rule, but for this particular contest, there's a rule in play that before all this begins, I spend any of my money I want to on any skills that I can find in the discard deck, because we already started the discard deck over here. From 14 of the cards off of there. There's a complicated way. It's kind of like if you played Paranoia, not Paranoia. Let me look behind me. Pandemic. If you played Pandemic, you know that you divide it up and you divide it equal parts and you put them down. Well, as you see here, there's 2 kind of cards in this deck. There's dice that have cards that have 1 pip on them and cards that have 2 pips on them. And to set up the market deck here, you divide it into the 1 pips and the 2 pips. You shuffle them both up, and then you get rid of the top 7 off of the 1 and the top 7 off of the 2, and then you put the 2s down and put the 1s on top of them. That's why all these are 1s. So we got 14 cards here, 7 1s and 7 2s. So I get to look through them now for skills and spend my 5 points on skills. You know, this is a weapon, this is a trait, this is a trait, this is a skill. So that's a possibility. Trait, skill, weapon, armor, skill, weapon, weapon, trait, and armor. Okay, so I'm going to look through these now and decide if there's any of them that I actually want to buy to start off with. I've got 5, so I'm only going to be able to buy 1. So if I do this, it better be a good one. Let's see. Knowledge. Knowledge allows me to increase or decrease the value of any of the die on my character sheet by 1 or 2. So that's a nice one. Sleight of Hand allows me move any of the dice on my sheet to any empty space. That's okay. Negotiate. Before or after selecting an initiative card, exchange 1 die on your character sheet with 1 of the initiative cards and reorder them. Ooh, that's an interesting way to mess somebody up. Now let's see here now. I think I am going to go with knowledge. I like being able to increase and decrease my dice, the numbers on the dice. So we're going to spend the 3 coins for that. We're going to get knowledge. These 2 go back into the discard deck. So knowledge goes here. This is where skills go. This is where traits go. This is for armor, and this is for weapons. So I've got the knowledge skill now. All right. So according to the special rules that I'm working under for the contest, these 2 now go away because I have nothing to spend them on. So I start out with no money. Makes it difficult because I have to make money the hard way. Okay. So now here we are. Actually, this one. Now that we got that done, this is the enemy die. So if I draw the one off of here, which is what I'm going to draw, the purple one, I now get to roll. If I roll a 1 for this, this is the card for the 2 here. If I roll a 1, this one gets thrown in the trash. If I roll a 2, that one gets thrown in the trash. Not the discard, but the actual trash. We have a trash that takes him out of the game as well. A 3, that one goes in the trash. On 4, 5, or 6, nothing happens. So we'll see which one it is. A 3. So Obnoxious goes into the trash, never to be used in this game. And with the one other game that I played, it's like, I don't know if there's a card in here that lets you dig through the discard pile or not, because I barely made it through the discard pile. I only had to reshuffle it once, and it was only for the last round. As you see here, every time I'm going to draw a card, every time I'm going to draft a die, I'm going to put it here. So it's going to be 12 rounds. 12 rounds maximum that we're going to be laying a market out here anyway. But therefore, we've lost Obnoxious now. And Obnoxious is a hard one. It's 2 points if you can get one of these columns that have 3 of the same dice in it. So Obnoxious would have happened. Remember, when I set these up, I could have set these 2 right here. And that would have completed that row. And that would have got that. And Obnoxious would have given me 2 more points if I'd chosen it. Good thing I didn't decide to do that, because I would have lost it just then. And it would have eaten up my plans. So, a little bit of luck and all involved here. Now, I've taken this one, which means I get the gold. So I'm back up to 1 gold again. And now I get to sit here and choose where I want it. Where it's obvious, I'm going to put it down here in Charisma. Okay? Charisma's already looking like my dump stat. It really is looking bad down here. There are things that will raise these, obviously like this, but I'm probably going to use these particular skills on more important things. Now with Charisma, anytime you put a die in Charisma, you get one of these. These are the little Charisma chips here. Okay, so I've got one of these now, and I get to use this. This basically means whatever's up here costs 1 less. This only lasts to the end of the round. It's only good for this particular market phase. And being that I've only got one coin to start with, even with that 1, I can't even afford the chain leggings. So that causes a problem. Okay, so we got that. What can I do now? I'm thinking I'm going to use the skill. When you use the skill, you immediately use the arrow right here. And the arrow tells you which way your little alignment token. So the alignment goes to the left. Has to go to the left 1. So I'm now just a neutral lawful instead of a neutral. And I can increase or decrease any die by 1 or 2. I have made a mistake here. My ranger ability, I should have got a gold after I used that skill card, in which place I would have 2 golds, and that charisma token would lower like the chainmail to 2, and I could have bought the chainmail. So I'm going to correct that mistake. It won't be correct in the next episode, in the next few rounds, but let's remember that I do have an extra gold. And I think the thing that I purchased later on with the gold was a better choice than choosing the chainmail here. So at some point in the future, I will note and put an extra gold into my bank here. Okay. I'm thinking we will increase this one by 2. So I'm going to take it from a 3 and we'll turn it to a 5. And this gets tapped. You know, I cannot use it anymore this particular round. Okay, now it's the market phase. Now, I don't have any enough, even with my token here, making 1 off the price, I don't have anything up here I can buy. So if you can't buy or you don't want to buy, you don't have to buy anything. So I don't want to buy anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to discard one of these. You can always choose your turn to discard one. And if you discard, you get 2 coins for discarding. That's one way of making money. Now, The special rules that we're playing under as well for the solo variant says that once the market phase is over, which now it's over because I only get to buy one card, the card that's furthest to the left goes into the discard, and any other cards go into the trash. So if Obnoxious had still been sitting out here, let's say that I'd rolled a 6, and we hadn't get rid of Obnoxious. It was over here to the right. So the chain leggings would go in here, and Obnoxious would then go in the trash anyway. So rolling that 6 wasn't that bad because one of the ones was going to go in the trash anyway because I could not buy any. All right, now we've got cleanup. Hand cleanup. We get rid of any charisma tokens. I didn't get to use it, so I lose it. There's that. Next up, we get to refresh one skill card. You can use any number of them. You can only refresh one. Now, the problem is I have to get this. You can't use this unless you can move your alignment token. My alignment token's already to the left, so I can't use this again until I somehow or other get my alignment token moved back over here to the middle, or at least the middle column. So this one is kind of closed off for me at the moment, but we've got it restored here. Okay, these 2 dice go back into the dice bag. We're going to draw out 3 new market cards, and we've got Cunning, we've got Leather Boots, and we've got Loyal. Okay. We're going to add another gold to the market card over here. And then in a multiplayer game, the dice would then pass over to the person on the left. In this game, of course, that doesn't happen. Next up is the rolling phase. I'm going to draw the 3 dice out of the bag, and I'm going to lay them up here so that we've got them ready to go.